Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be taking a look at a movie from 2010, and that movie is Four Lions. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you want to know when the first time I ever saw this movie was? I believe it was about September of 2010. This must have only been out for a couple of weeks at the most. And I remember watching the movie up until, I think it was something in a greenhouse I was up to when I first saw this, and I didn't really see much of the rest of it. I can't quite remember why, but that was over 10 years ago when I saw that. So, from what I remember, if I can remember anything about this, is that it's a comedy movie about four English jihadi I think they're jihadi terrorists who they want to be recognized as proper martyrs. They want to do something for their cause. And I'm not too sure about you, ladies and gentlemen, but there was definitely some stuff that I do remember laughing at, and up until the point where they got up to this greenhouse, I think. So, and I what's interesting is that the movie is directed by a man called Chris Morris. Now, I'm just going to do a quick look up just to make sure, because I'm pretty sure Chris Morris was in the IT Crowd. He played the original boss, and let me just see. Yes, he was in the IT Crowd. That's interesting, and I just can't wait to stick this in and just because Chris Morris, he was funny in the IT Crowd, but even though he wasn't on set for very long and he didn't have a major role in the show, but it was still funny. So I can't wait to just find all this out. So you know what? What are we even waiting for? Absolutely nothing as far as I can work out. So, because this really is kind of like the first comedy movie I've ever done since we're doing these reactions and that. And I'm after for something, because over the last couple of weeks we've done stuff like, goodness me, The Shining, we've done Watchmen, we've done stuff like Kick-Ass, Mississippi Burning, what else have we done? Full Metal Jacket, and I believe we've also done 2001. And I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but there's an awful lot of dark stuff and all that. I think it's time we may want to try and change the mood just a little bit. So I hope you guys are ready, because it's time to sit back, relax, and check out Four Lions. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Four Lions. Let me shut that off. Ugh. It's kind of interesting, really, when you think about it, that the first movie really since we sort of started doing this little Sunday night series where we've only really done a movie that's only about 90 minutes. It's 95 minutes in length or something like that. But fuck me, where the hell did we start? Well, I started with Watchmen last week, I may as well do the obvious thing and just go through the story first. The story is of these, there's 5 jihadi terrorists who basically, it's like the Three Stooges, but it's 5 of them, and they have this plan where they're just gonna blow something up and become famous for it, believing that all of a sudden there's going to be some massive war and they're just doing it for their cause. However, as you kind of watch the film progress, you kind of just realize there is no cause for all of this. There's no, well, I'll tell you exactly why. It's because Omar gets a call to go to an emergency wedding in Pakistan, which is just a cover for training with the Emir in Pakistan. Him and his mate Waj go up, and Waj Barry, the special needs donkey, as well, Barry gets to call him anyway. So they get to Pakistan, and it's incredibly obvious that Waj is absolutely not cut out for this. He looks too dumb, and he looks like he has no idea exactly what the overall perspective of what they're training to do is. Now, all that being said, Barry, who I gotta say, I have no, I have no idea what necessarily went through Barry's mind, because he comes up with these most ridiculous ideas to radicalize Muslims to join their. What was this fucking Hassan? There's this. He goes to this meeting at this college, I think, where actually they do get Alex McQueen, who's this British actor who's in pretty much everything, but nobody really knows who he's called. So he plays Neil's dad in The Inbetweeners, if that's any help. So they get to this college seminar and they're just talking about Islam and all that. Then this guy called Hassan just starts doing a freestyle rap and Mujahideen and a thingy rap, and he strapped himself with bombs, but it's just like confetti and all that. Watching that, I was thoroughly convinced that he was just going to blow himself up, and all of us, and just everybody was just there to watch. It felt like there was no other way, because I get it, because I'm a Muslim. You must thought it was real. Wow. And then, okay, so somehow it's kind of weird how, like, Hassan, I'd imagine if that happened in reality, he would have just gotten arrested almost immediately. Haas then gets recruited by Barry just to basically stick one on Omar, and Omar and Waj managed to blow up the Amir training camp, and it's revealed in the ending that they accidentally also killed Osama bin Laden in that training camp, which, because when you think about it, it was about like 6 months later the real Osama bin Laden died, and maybe that's where the movie Zero Dark Thirty got the idea from. You think you know some people, eh? So, following that complete and utter disaster, Omar comes up with this lie saying that they got special mentions from the Emir to put a plan into action. But of course, now that they're all on a plan and they've got to do something, nobody has any idea what the hell they're going to do. Barry comes up with this. No, it's actually before they get back. There's this. Oh my goodness! This scene where Haas, Barry, and Faisal are in this greenhouse, and they're talking about how they managed to get all this bleach, and Faz, Faz comes up with some brilliant stuff in this movie, but he puts on different voices, but he got all the bleach from the same shop. He goes, can I have 12 bottles of bleach, please? And an IRA voice, an IRA voice, and a terrorist impersonating a terrorist to buy bleach. Can I have 12 bottles of bleach, please? And the woman's voice. So to cover his beard up, he has to just kind of like. Yes, he went into a shop with his hands on his face and then asked for 12 bottles of bleach. Why do you think he's got his hands on his face? She's got a beard. Wow, just what? He's got her hands on her face. That's why I asked for 12 bottles of bleach. Like, I like the fact, for whatever reason, they went out of the way to prove to these guys they are the most incompetent soldiers in the world. And the logistics, I mean, the morals of what they're actually about to undertake, I'll get into that a bit later, but how can you make a movie about terrorists and somehow make it as funny as these guys are doing? I do not understand what Chris Moyles has actually done, but it's incredibly fascinating because, well, you could just make about comedy out of anything in things that shouldn't be laughed at. wow, it's really, just think about it for seconds, and it's mind numbing, almost, in terms of how astonishing it all is. So Barry comes up with this idea that the idea to radicalize the Muslims is to bomb the mosque. That's like the ultimate punch in the face, because the ultimate self punch in the face, because I am still trying to work out in my mind exactly what on earth that is designed to accomplish. I don't think I've just the idea that somehow Muslims are just immediately going to say, oh my god, people are attacking us. That means the only thing we can do now is to rise up against the West imperially. They keep saying the Western imperialism and that, and I am not too sure if they really understand what it means. So they're just going about hatching a plan about what on earth they're going to do. Some hijinks involve this girl named Alice, and who just strolls into their flat, and they see all the nails, the petrol, and they just see everything lying about. It just looks, every single turn, these guys, they just make life, it's, if it's not the idea of trying to put a bomb on a crow, they're just willfully inviting people around. It's just what because it's completely insane. It's more insane than it sounds. But actually, speaking of insane, shortly after they kick Alice out, there's the scene where Faisal, the first of our guys, accidentally gets blown up by falling over a wall and tripping over a sheep. And it says in the credits that only one sheep was harmed during the making of this video, this movie. I am not entirely sure whether or not, I could not even begin to tell you whether or not it was one sheep, or whether or not it was just a stunt double, or not it was a double sheep or not, because I'm surprised. I'm pretty sure they would have gone in trouble from, like, someone would have written in to complain about that, no doubt. So, leaving the logistics about whether or not the RSPCA want to have a word or not is out of the question for the moment, it suddenly becomes apparent to just about everyone involved at this point that death is kind of sort of a part of all of this, and our remaining heroes have got to sort of like realize that, well, are we going to do anything substantial? But then again, everybody was forcing Faisal into this, and Omar is just completely, deciding, maybe, we took away his chance. You panicked it. Barry bullied him so much that just, it's not even worth it. So just, we're done. We're not doing this. Then they just try to go back to living that there. Well, it's kind of really interesting actually, because Omar tries to leave. He gets stopped by his brother, and suddenly he realizes that trying to reconcile with his brother and his view of the world, in which they keep women in cupboards and all that, whilst the men are supposed to be dealt to the business of, single-mindedness of, well, how they worship is just, Omar is just complete, like, no, he doesn't want to have to do anything a part of this. In fact, that's actually a part of the movie where I kind of like realised, what exactly does Omar want to do with blowing something up anyway? I mean, there's a scene where he talks to his wife quite late into the film, where he says, she kind of like encourages like Omar really to do this, and I never worked out exactly what on earth for, what exactly, and his son as well. I've never really worked, but what is their motive to just, what is Omar's motive to just blowing something up? What is the thought behind? I never thought to really ask that before, because that's kind of like a recurring theme throughout this, is that Waj has absolutely no idea what he's doing. He says that he thinks all of this is wrong. Barry just, I'm actually more convinced right now that Barry just decided to choose the one scapegoat so he can cause destruction and chaos all around him. I think that's what Barry's ultimate ultimate desire is. He says he is the most Al Qaeda one of the group. Haas, for the most part, is just kind of like, well, you want to do something radical, so here's something radical, so join us, is basic what Barry tells Haas. And Faisal just kind of like, he has no idea what on earth he's doing. He's not cool with the idea of having to blow himself up, but considering he did it by accident, it's something. So when they finally come up with a plan that they're going to go and blow up a fun run in London, Haas completely bottles it and gets himself blown up first. You're real but not anymore, and then gets blown up. Barry dies really. He tries to eat the SIM card because Omar's trying to like call Waj and say, dude, this is not right. We've got to turn ourselves in. Gets himself blown up because somebody tries to I don't quite know. He's trying to force the SIM card back out. I can't quite name it. Quite interesting, really, to see that apparently Benedict Cumberbatch got a role in this movie as this guy called Ed, who's just this police negotiator. It's kind of it's very interesting that you would see this conversation of just dumb and really dumb, because it becomes apparent to Waj through the one hostage that he has that he has no idea what he's doing. He has no demands. He is absolutely no clue in his mind what on earth he's actually undertook or what is being demanded of him right now, because he doesn't have any. Even when Ed asks Waj, what are you doing this for? And it's just Rubber Dinghy Rapids, bro. Rubber Dinghy Rapids. He has absolutely just... I feel for Waj terribly in all this, because he has no idea what he's doing, and he has no idea why, what for, where. He just like kind of just decides to just, okay, I'll do it, but he doesn't have any idea what he's been asked to do. Faisal was kind of just like really bullied into this from the very beginning, and he has these really sheltered sort of opinions and believing that he can never be on camera and and just gets harassed endlessly by Barry and all of this. It ends on a very, very dark note where Waj decides, I'm sorry guys, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, blows himself up, and Omar, who's basically kept his head on his shoulders all the way through this film, decides, when he looks around and sees that the terror they've all actually managed to cause, and he just decides to blow himself up in a chemist's. That's really kind of just like the whole movie, is that these just guys just stumble around trying to come up with a plan, and then they realise exactly what's being demanded of them, but they decide to go through with it anyway. They go to the top floor, as they're being told. So, it's what I find just amazing, more than anything in this movie, is that somehow I'm not entirely sure how on earth you could really make a movie about comedy terrorists work, especially because this came out in 2010. This is 9 years after 9/11. This is a post 9/11 world, but it doesn't mean to say that it's post terrorism, because I can't quite remember all of the names of the attacks that took place in the 2010s alone, but there must have been at least 40, I seem to think, or something like that. It's horrendous. So when you go out of your own way to try and make some commentary about it, the fact that you realise that these guys are just trying to cement their names in history, to do something for their people, but they have absolutely no idea that their people will actually condone anything of this, and they realise that this whole blowing things up is complete and utter bullshit, because I believe it's that they do it so they can get straight into heaven, but I don't know. I don't think I'll ever really understand what really the logic is behind it. And what's even sort of like a little bit more daunting when you see these guys, you get the impression that just all of these guys just, that this is it, this is what they've been training towards, and it just, it goes tits up, but not the way that they imagined it. They all died, and that's kind of really the end of it. They took along very few. They didn't do it. They didn't bring about the end of days. They didn't bring about any sort of uprising. The futility of what they had to do is paramount in the closing moments of the movie, where Omar just kind of looks around and sees people running to and fro, and but you will laugh at this. That's the strangest thing of all, is that when you see how incompetent our characters are, and when you find out that they have no clue what they're doing, but the fact is that in any world they would just realize that they would get called out immediately. Like, no one is going to believe that a crow somehow with a bomb around its body is not going to be seen, or seen being blown up, or the fact that Barry has this theory that spark plugs have been invented by Jews to control world surveillance. You are in no way, shape, or form going to believe that all of a sudden these guys are ready to cement their name as martyrs. They didn't cement their name as martyrs. They cemented their name as just some idiots who decided to blow shit up. That's really what happens. And if this movie has at least taught me something, because I don't really want to like spoil the comedy in this movie. That's kind of like a really hard part about doing this review, is that I don't want to spoil the comedy, because if I told you guys the joke, there would be no joke whatsoever. So I kind of like have to reserve to telling you guys the story, and it's a good story. It's a really compelling story when you realize that what on earth are these guys supposed to be doing, or is there anything really that they can do, or it's something else entirely. Now, there is kind of like one last thing I really kind of want to talk about, is that if this movie has at least taught me anything, it's that comedy should not be submissive into what are very serious issues. You can write serious issues and make them into comedies, because when you think about it, it gives you a little bit of insight that not like the Three Stooges, where it's just guys acting like idiots, but there are characters behind this. These are people in this movie. They're very human people. That's a bit of an overstatement if you ask me. But that's you get the point, is that you come to realize what their struggle is, and the fact that they have no purpose in what they're doing, and it's causing more harm than it's worth. Which kind of brings me on to, like, I genuinely want to know, really, can you really make anything kind of dark but laugh out loud funny as Four Lions again? I don't know. I don't know whether or not you can, I don't know, maybe make a comedy about scam artists sort of on the internet. What about like a? That's It's really it's fascinating, because it's just like a part of the world. It's taking people from this world and just exploring their lives. It's one of the most relatable comedies ever, because these guys are just trying to find their place in history, and this was what they'd done as a result. And I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. It was just carnage. It was really, really sharp. Really, oh my god, I can't believe they just did that moments all throughout the movie. And if there was like kind of like one problem I kind of like did have to have about the movie, it's not the runtime, because it's 90 minutes, I think, is absolutely perfect for this movie. If it was like 2 hours, I think it would have been a bit of a drag to get through. So I'll just say that the pacing was really good. It got to the jokes with much faster than I initially thought. And I suppose if there's like one problem I do kind of like have with this movie is that I'm not sure. I suppose maybe I suppose this movie could have maybe done with a bit more of more people asking, are you sure? More of like Omar's brother saying that, why exactly are you doing this? Do you not realize that, innocent people are going to get hurt, and despite what you think of me, we don't want to do this to hurt people. We're trying to keep people safe. Like, present the other argument. Present the argument of people who just... But then again, that's really kind of like Nabil's sort of like role, is that Waj's captor, hostage at this kebab shop just says that, bro, we support jihad and there's no kafar here. He kind of represents the fact that he's killing that Waj is about to kill one of his own brothers, and there is for no purpose, because there's no anger, there's no animosity between the two. Just Waj has absolutely, again, no concept of what this is going to do. So aside from the fact that there is nothing really I could talk about, I would say that it's possibly perhaps the greatest dark comedy of all time. And I've heard Doctor Strangelove is meant to be... I've never seen Doctor Strangelove, which is Stanley Kubrick, I think. But I'm gonna have to like check that out, because I heard that movie has a really dark ending, or I heard the entire premise of the movie is quite like a dark comedy, but isn't like Gene Wilder supposed to be in that film? But I'll find out when the time comes. So, anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this reaction and review to Four Lions. Please make sure to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie for yourselves. And I will hope to see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.